Welcome back to Chief Studios. This is Taylor Bell, and this is Chief Studios.
Yeah. Woo.
I just need my
Yeah.
space right now.
Fresh off the G5 jet, I'm on my way to a brand new kit.
All right, this is the immediate post-game reaction. Now, Fred Davis is going to have the official post-game show along with the few of the other NFL games that are going to be on today, Sunday. Now, this Chiefs game was the early game, started at 8:30 a.m. live from Germany, and what a game! Now, Chiefs did get the W, but leave a lot on the table. It was not pretty. Looked great in the first half. It was it. You know what's interesting? Chiefs. Excuse me. Let me set the final score. Chiefs win 21-14 versus the Miami Dolphins in Frankfurt, Germany. It was the Chiefs' only outside of U.S. game this year. Now, getting into the game, it was not pretty. They did get the W. It does go in the win column for the Chiefs. However, it was a tale of two halves, and not just for the Chiefs, but for the Dolphins. So the Chiefs look seemingly awesome in the first half, do nothing in the second half. The Dolphins did nothing in the first half and looked great in the second half. It just so happens that the Chiefs scored looked a little better in their tale of the halves. We'll get into some statistics here in just a second. Not going to make this long. Now, the the boy, what a game! So I got a lot on my mind, and again, I'll make this quick. I got a head cold. Woke up feeling sick. So please excuse me for the foggy brain, which is not good for recording a YouTube video. But I'm going to do this through no edits, nothing, live reaction, right? That's what this is, immediate reaction. So there was not much proved to me today. Actually, I take that back. It solidified my criticism of this Chiefs team. Yes, they're my favorite team. Yes, I'm a childhood fan of the Chiefs. But I'm honest. I'm not going to sugarcoat stuff. Look, this team right now has got a lot of improving to do. They do improve to 7-2. However, the story of the season has been inconsistency. They have not been consistent. They have not solidified an identity. And the wide receiving core still struggling. It's been the story of the season, and it continues on whether we get a win or a loss. Um, it's sort of a surprising record for a team that has so many issues to be 7-2. Now, you can look at it both ways, right? You can say, well, shoot, that means we're a good team because we're overcoming the struggles, we're overcoming our deficiencies to have one of the better records in the league. True. And that's you still may get a 14-3 record, 13-4 record when the year is done. But one thing I do know is that this type of play is not going to get you far into the playoffs. At the moment, you cannot expect a Super Bowl win with this play, with this roster, in my opinion. The wide receivers still struggle with dropping passes. The wide receivers still struggle with getting open. It looks like Patrick Mahomes and the wide receivers still are not in sync going into Week 9, which it was today. And inconsistency going back to that. This team, like as I said, still does not have an identity, right? Usually, the majority of the time, I would say basically almost every team by now going into Week 9 has an identity, right? The coaches of said team or any team kind of, or actually the opposing coaches, who the scouting team basically know what they're going to see at this point, week in and week out. Shoot, at least by probably week 5 or week 6, you basically know what you have. You basically know what to expect. You know who you can lean on, who you can't. What are your liabilities on the team? What are your assets on the team? What you do good, what you don't do good. Chiefs, I have no idea what's going on with this team. All I know is Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback or the best football player in the world, and that's about it. Chris Jones did not show up today, which is weird because actually the defense did kind of bail them out on this win with 3 huge plays on the final Miami 2 possessions. Came up with 3 big plays, 2 of them back to back on the second to last possession Miami, and on the very last play of the game, sacked Tua to seal the win. Now, he did fumble the ball on the last snap, but it is what it is, right? They had a big play. They sacked Tua again, as I mentioned, on the second to last possession. So defense bailed them out. Dumb penalty by Chris Jones to continue the Miami third to last possession to get them to 14 points. And if it was not for that Chris Jones personal foul, the Miami Dolphins would not have scored that touchdown because it was on third down, gave them a first down, and then they went on to score a touchdown. So you got wide receiver drops. You have a running game that is basically non-existent, and they continue to try to push that. Chiefs look great in the first half, do nothing in the second half. Not looking good. So we did get the W, but I am not satisfied. Let's go look at some stats, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. All right, so here we go. 14-21, Kansas City was considered the home team in Frankfurt, Germany. But check this out. So Mahomes finishes the day 20 of 30, 185 yards, 2 TDs. Decent game. For him, it's a decent game. From most other quarterbacks, it's a damn good game. The quarterback rating of 105, but for him, that's decent. Tua finished today 21 of 34, 193 yards, and 1 TD. Now, rushing. Pacheco was your leading rusher with 16 carries for 66 yards. And then Mahomes was your second leading rusher, 24 yards. Now, Edwards-Helaire, I guess their second string running back who you could have leaned on was sick as I am right now, not feeling good, and actually stayed in Kansas City, so he was not on the trip to Germany. And for Miami, you had Mozart, which interestingly he has got 85 yards on the day, but it seemed like he had more than that because man, in the second half, Miami was moving the ball again. As I said, Miami did nothing in the first half and looked great in the second half. And for Kansas City, it was a polar opposite. They looked great in the first half and did nothing in the second half. So you get inconsistent play from both teams today. Now, check this out. Here's as y'all know, my number one gripe. And you know what? I was thinking to myself, I gotta chill out on shitting on the wide receivers for Kansas City. But when I see this week in and week out, I kick down my mental block of saying, don't talk about the wide receivers so much. I kick that idea out the door because look at this. This proves my point. Your leading wide receiver is Noah Gray. And no, he didn't have a big game of 185 yards, 2 TDs. He had 3 catches for 34 yards. That's your leading wide receiver. If that does not prove my point, I don't know what other stat line will. Your leading wide receiver, Noah Gray, 34 yards. And then look at this. Sky Moore, 2 catches. Jerick McKinnon, 2 catches. You got 33 yards, 22 yards respectively. Valdez-Scantling, I guess you could say is your number 2 wide receiver, is 22 yards. Kadarius Toney, On paper, your number one wide receiver for the Kansas City Chiefs. One catch, 18 yards. One catch, 18 yards. And then it just goes downhill from there. So, look, uh, it is what it is. And then you got fumbles, blah, 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 blah. Turnovers wasn't a well, I take that back. Miami did fumble the ball 3 times. They only lost it once, so they recovered 2 of those fumbles that they had. Kansas City did fumble the ball once and lost it once. Now, defense. McDuffie had a pretty good game. He was your standout defensive player of the game. And where is Mr. Jones? Mr. Chris Jones, the holdout who wanted ungodly amount of money, got you 1 tackle and a stupid defensive, a stupid personal foul late in the game. So not pretty by any means. We will see how the rest of the season goes. Look, I was hoping at some point this year. Let me get off this game and we'll wrap this up. I was hoping at some point this season we would figure it out. Look, the wide receiving core, not great, but I was hoping they would get some rhythm. They would get in sync together. Mahomes would be able to. Obviously, he's got Kelsey. Oh, by the way, Kelsey only had 3 catches for 14 yards. So very unproductive game for Travis Kelsey. I was hoping he would find a wide receiver he could lean on. I was hoping there would be a possession receiver where it would be money, right? If everything else fails, everything else falls down when you're going through your progressions, you can at least throw it to X player and he would at least catch the ball. You can lean on him for 3rd downs. Now, that's been Kelsey in the past, but I'm talking wide receiver. And nobody has stepped up into that position. So going into the remainder of the year, I'm expecting this trend of kind of just whatever. Don't really know what to expect. No identity. One half could be great. The second half could be horrible. I think that's what we're going to see for the rest of the year. Unless something late breaking happens where they get a rhythm, where a wide receiver does step up, I don't see it improving. It's going to be Mahomes and everybody else. So I don't want to get on here and sound like I'm bitching all the time, but I'm very, very frustrated with this team because going into the playoffs, this type of play that we're seeing here is not going to beat the top teams in the playoffs, regardless if it's through the AFC or regardless if you make it to the Super Bowl. You're going to be facing top-notch talent, players, coaches in the playoffs, and I don't think this inconsistency, not knowing what type of play you're going to get, not knowing who's going to step up, is just not sustainable for a championship season. So let's look at who we got next. Let's see here. I believe it's the Eagles. Yes. Okay. So next week there's an off week because today's the 5th. You had a game right here. This is the score. Sorry, I didn't have the screen shared. Next game is the Eagles, but you have an off week because look, the date is the 20th. Today's the 5th. So you do have an off week next week, but you do get stiff competition against the Eagles, but you have a ton of winnable games. You got the Raiders, Packers, Bills, Patriots, Raiders again, Bengals, which could be tough, and then Chargers. So you got the remainder of the year, you got a bunch of winnable games. And you do have a couple of measuring stick games like Today was a measuring stick game. It's against one of the better teams in the NFL. So I want to see those soon, rather sooner than later. I want to see what we got as a team. I want to see what we can do against stiff competition. Today, look, you can. I was online for a second right before I shot this, right before I recorded this, and there's a bunch of fans are raving. We got the W, this, that, whatever. I guess today I'm glasses half empty, but I want to see the stiffer competition sooner than later because I want to see what this team has got, what the Chiefs got. Now, our next game is against Philly. They're one of the better teams in the NFL. I want to see what we got, right? And when you have these teams that suck, like the Raiders, the Packers, you got to blow these teams out. These can't be close. You're at a point where you need to prove it. You can't take your foot off the gas. You can't take anything for granted. You got to put as many points on the board as you can offensively. Defensively, you have to try to get shutouts. The defense looks decent, but you got to perform at the highest level and show us what you got because they haven't to this point. There's out of the 9 games this year, I think there's been 2 that I was actually satisfied with as far as the performance, the offensive productivity, the defense. There was only 2 games out of 9, that I've been happy with. But as you can tell, my voice is literally giving out here, so I am going to get off. I know you don't want to hear my nasty voice and my stopped up nose, but I do appreciate the time. Chiefs did get the W. Stay tuned. We're going to put a notification out. Fred's going to go live with the Chiefs official post-game show, and the cover some of the rest of the NFL as well, because there wasn't much to cover on the Chiefs. But he's got everything. Isn't much more professional than I do, but my voice is giving out, like I said. So let me get out of here. Stay tuned. We'll send the notification out here soon when we get that live stream scheduled. So I do appreciate the time. And as always, this is Chief Studios. My name is Taylor Bell. And I will catch you on the next one. Peace out.